Well, welcome everyone to the Bowling University studio from the International Bowling Campus here in Arlington, Texas. I'm Bart Berger, and I'll be your host for this edition of the Bowling University Profit Break. Thank you all for joining us. Our mission here at the university is to enrich people's lives personally and professionally, and the Profit Break is an opportunity for sharing insights on how to grow revenue, reduce costs, enrich yourself, your team, and your business. Now, if you're joining the Profit Break for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. Give us 15 minutes, and you'll be well on your way to improving your profitability. Now, today, we are joined by Rich Eighme. Rich is the proprietor of Cadillac XBC and Maple Lanes, both located in Waterloo, Iowa. Now, Rich is an industry veteran with 40-plus years, but just over 10 years ago, he had the chance to join the ranks of owner-operator. Now, Rich is no stranger to evolving and reimaging both of his centers. In fact, as we are about to learn, sometimes it wasn't by his choice. Now, Maple Lanes was just recently recognized by Bowling Center magazine as the best modernized U.S. hybrid center in America, and the story of how that came to be is an inspiring one. Rich, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. We know you're very, very busy.
Yeah, it's winding down. The season as far as here in Iowa and here in the Midwest is kind of coming to an end, but we have summer and spring portions getting ready to go together. So never a dull moment.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rich. So let's jump in. You, of course, are not new to the industry, but the ownership rank's a little new. Can you give us a quick background of how you got in the industry and what led you to jump into the ranks of ownership?
Sure. I'm a pro shop operator by trade. My dad, my family have been Hall of Fame caliber bowlers in Waterloo and Iowa. I kind of followed in their footsteps as becoming a bowler. When I was in high school, age 15, I started helping my dad in his pro shop and Fran's Pro Shop, which has been around for, well, I'm 44, or I'm 54, and started when I was 15 for almost 40 years. So, like I said, got into the pro shop business, and then about 10 years ago, in 2012, had an opportunity to purchase Maple Lanes from a gentleman named Bruce Strom, and it was a family-held center. They built it in '59. And kind of joined the proprietor ranks, and it's been an interesting ride.
Yeah, well, we're going to jump into that. So it's 2012. You've purchased Maple Lanes. Tell us a little bit about the makeup of the center at that time. What was it? What was the makeup of the center there?
It was a very high lineage center, very traditional center. High 30s, low 40s of league bowling. Somewhat modernized, but hadn't been really touched in about 20 years. A bit antiquated in its look, right out of the 1970s as far as the last remodel, but very clean center, very well ran center. When we got the opportunity to come in, we had visions of course, modernizing, bringing what we viewed as what we thought bowling should be, and we began to start to add some pieces to it. So we added automatic scoring right away. We kind of embraced the retro feel of the masking units and some of the furniture, and kind of attacked behind the front desk, gave everything a fresh coat of paint, and added our own flair to the center. Added some leagues, felt like a bit of a fish out of water because, again, knew the pro shop business, knew that side of the industry very well, but had never formed a league, had never went out and recruited bowlers, and therefore kind of a baptism by fire, if you will. Bruce was good enough to stay on for a season and give us kind of a tutorial and take us under his wing a little bit. But before long, he left, and we rolled with it.
Good. So we fast forward 5 years, right? And you've got all this success and learning under your belt. It's 2017. The opportunity comes up for you to pick up another center in town, Cadillac. Tell us about that center, how many lanes, and what the makeup of that location is.
Well, at the time, I wanted and thought we needed another bowling center like I needed a hole in the head. But I did not want to see Waterloo go down to a one center town. Once upon a time, we had 7 thriving centers if you go back into the 60s. State tournament, both men's and women's, as well as juniors, frequent Waterloo, and was concerned that if at the time 50-lane bowling center would go out, we'd be left with a 32 and we'd be limited in what we could do. So even though it wasn't something I was really thrilled about, it was again very antiquated, very large, being 50 lanes, and not doing so well. In fact, because of that, I would have to say I passed the first 2 opportunities. But putting something together with the former owner and kind of developing a business model, a business idea that would be very different from Maple Lanes, we took over, and one of the first things we did was we pulled 14 lanes out, put in a large redemption arcade. That was kind of phase 1. Phase 2 came a year and a half later when we put in a large laser tag venue behind the arcade, and have since added virtual reality and began to modernize, very similar to what we did with Maple Lanes. Because of such a big building and a big facility, there were a lot of needs, both mechanically as well as aesthetically. But, started with the front desk, expanded one of the bars into more of a lane side bar instead of a sit-down area, and continued today to put different pieces and add attractions to make it more of that family fun center FEC feel, because in comparison to Maple Lanes, Maple has 46 leagues. Cadillac has 5. So we've got to operate on a completely different business model, catering to recreational play, corporate events, tournaments, and such, because I have a lot of inventory as far as empty lane beds over there, and where at Maple, I have very little. And you maximize recreational bowling when you don't have organized bowling.
Yeah. So I love what you shared there, Rich, that while your background may be that of traditional and the pro shop is your business and what you grew up with, the fact that you're able to reinvent yourself and understand the business model, I mean, my hat's off to you. That's just amazing. So you've got both centers in the marketplace. Both are a little different business model, and now you're off to the races. 2020 comes, right? And who could have saw all the things that happened to us in 2020? But in your case, it added a little extra dimension. Tell us about that at the time, a dark day in February of 2020, and what happened at Maple.
Sure. One of the rare times my wife and I took a vacation, had never been over to Europe. Our son played 4 years of basketball at Upper Iowa University, D2 basketball, and had the opportunity to get his master's degree in Nottingham, England. Played a 5th year of college ball, and then at the time was playing professional ball in Portugal. So we hop a plane across the pond, fly into Porto, watch a away game, and then had hopped the plane to his island. He lived and played on one of the Azore Islands in Portugal. And when we landed, my phone started going crazy once it got off airplane mode, and had 70-some text messages, and I have no idea how many voicemails. But the first voicemail was from my sister, Robin, and she said, "Hey, are you going to cut your vacation short, come back?" Right away, my mind goes to what happened to one of my parents. Something bad has happened. And then the word comes through that Maple Lanes was on fire. So after a couple of phone calls and half a day trying to get an emergency flight back from Portugal back to the States, arrived back to a partially burnt out bowling center and very, very badly smoke damaged rest of the part. And that started 2020 off with not necessarily the way I would have liked to. And then, following COVID for the next year to 18 months, made for a very trying, very, very eye-opening and learning portion of my life, but never thought that I would be, in essence, rebuilding or, in many cases, building a brand new center because of what had happened. The fire started on a robbery. We had 3 men enter the facility while my janitor was in the lanes, and came in through the back and kind of subdued him and, in essence, took him hostage for a few hours. Kind of went through all the games, the pinball, broke into the ATM, tried to get into the safe. Couldn't believe that a janitor didn't have the keys to all the offices as well as the combinations to the safe, so they kind of roughed him up a little bit, and ended with setting a match and or lighting a match, setting the place on fire, and we're where we are today because of excuse me, but an idiot with a match.
Well, thankfully nobody was hurt severely. Everybody was safe. And and then that enough is to make some people throw in the towel. But then you layer in 30 days later, the world goes through this, for pandemic, 100 years in the making there. But you didn't give up. You reinvented. You fast forward. So tell us about the new Maple Lanes and the makeup there. And I'm going to put up a picture here of the bar, and I know that there's something interesting hanging from the ceiling there, and tell us a little bit about that. I think our viewers are going to be able to see that.
Sure. Well, we designed Maple. We had to use the same blueprint, of course, that we had used before, especially on the remaining 2/3 that did not completely burn. So we weren't able to change where the lanes were or how much settee area or concourse space we had, but we were able to do everything behind the scenes. The west side of the building, which took the brunt of the fire, affected the first 8 lanes. And we decided that we needed to, we felt that if we were to expand, because we were a 32-lane center with 46 leagues and a lot of traditional league bowlers, we really felt that there wasn't a ton of opportunity to expand that portion of our business. But where we could really see true expansion possibilities would be into the restaurant and bar business. So we decided to rebuild and relocate the bar to the west end. We went up 2 stories, so we have a mezzanine. In fact, that's where I'm sitting at this morning because the offices are all being used by persons that are working. But what you're seeing above the bar is those are 8230 pin setters from at the time AMF, and we found 2 of them when a bowling center in Postville, Iowa went out of business, unfortunately. And when they turned over the wood runway or above the lanes, the walking area above the lanes, it said Maple Lanes 3 and 4, and did some investigating and found out that Bruce and his family had upgraded from 8230s to 8270s in the early 70s, and 2 of their pin setter machines went to Postville. So when I heard that, we went and got the solid pinwheels as well as the tables that you see there, and we found another to match, and we decided to create our lighting chandeliers out of the 8230 tables. And since that picture, we have loaded it with pins to where it's obvious of what it is, but it's quite a talking point for those who inhabit the bar and aren't necessarily bowlers. There's bowlers usually recognize that there's some form of part of the pin setter, but non-bowlers, see them as just some big industrial machine of some sort. But it's pretty easy to figure out what they are once you point them out.
Well, the center looks incredible. I love how the architect worked that in, where we've got a beautiful shot of the mask units and the lanes there. But it's an interesting decision you made, because you mentioned a couple times about how strong Maple's league base was and how important that was to the business model. But yet you made the decision to put in some of the 4 duck pin lanes. So tell us a little bit about that decision and why you took a strong league base house and still made the decision to add this entertainment element.
Well, this was actually kind of a difficult decision, because to pull 4 lanes out of a bowling center that we were full on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, it was difficult. But again, had seen boutique areas being very profitable and very popular in the latest 15, 20 years of the evolution of the bowling centers, and wanted a little bit of that private area feel, but didn't necessarily feel that the way to do it was just to take 4 to 6 to 8 lanes and put them in a room by itself. Definitely could not afford that kind of expansion, nor did I want to take that many lanes out of play. But we did want to do something special, wanted to create something about the bar. If we're going to expand the restaurant and the bar into probably 5 times the size that we had prior, wanted to look at it similar to the way we looked at Cadillac. When we pulled 14 lanes out of Cadillac and we added an arcade attraction, a laser tag attraction, VR, and wanted to look at Maple to where, what could we do to Maple to add an attraction to a very, again, organized game plan, but yet make it something that gives bowlers and gives outside customers a desire to come into the bowling center that's not just bowling. And even though duckpin is very still bowling, it is such a different game, such a difficult game. For anybody out there who's ever tried it, it will test your skill, to say the least. But wanting to create a presence in the bar that would not die out. And what I mean by that is, here in Waterloo, and I'm sure in many, many places across the country and the world for that matter, new bars open up all the time, and they are themed very, very well. They have great vision and are popular for a while, whether it's the food, whether it's the theming, how the music they play. And then you see them start to deteriorate after that 6 months, a year, what I call the honeymoon period. And then people find the new bar because another bar pops open over here or across the way. And they seem to be a lot of bar closings after about 2 years of being popular. And then all of a sudden, their customers just went away, and they lost that momentum. So our goal is what can we do to Kingpin Social that makes it honeymoon proof? And the way in which we tried to do that was the duck pin lanes down below, and then up above in my mezzanine, we have pool tables, we have pinball machines, we have some of the newest electronic beer pong tables called Jet Pong, as well as our ceiling heights are tall enough to have actually cornhole, or what we call bags here in Iowa, indoor courts. And we've created an atmosphere that we hope will survive that honeymoon period, so that people don't all of a sudden get tired of coming in because it's no more than something else down the road. So we tried to incorporate that both in the bowling center side as well as the bar Kingpin Social side to hopefully, time will tell, but create an atmosphere that persons can come out, have a great time, and maybe never touch a traditional bowling ball, but maybe they enjoy the duck pin, maybe they enjoy the social aspect of the mezzanine, being able to sit up and enjoy a drink or enjoy an appetizer, play some pool, just create something for everybody. And we have a large outdoor area planned also. We are adding 2 sand volleyball courts outside, as well as a large beer garden. We have a large seasonal bags league on Thursday nights of, again, cornhole and bags that last year, even over at Cadillac, we, using their parking lot and using our equipment, had 56 teams. We plan to expand that again this year. So trying to make Maple Lanes and Cadillac Lanes a little more than just this typical seasonal bowling center that thrives for 9 months and tries to survive for the remaining 3.
Well, Rich, that's an incredible story. You've taken tragedy, turned it into triumph. In both your centers. I mean, one is obviously more obvious, and can't thank you. First, congratulations on the recognition, well deserved. Congratulations on your ability to reinvent yourself. Time for one last question as we close out today. Just if you were giving some advice to fellow proprietors that may be unsure, right? They don't need necessarily a tragedy like you had to reinvent themselves, but if you had a nugget to share with proprietors that maybe were on the fence or unsure about reinvesting in their business, anything you would share with them?
The business model that we took when we assumed Maple Lanes, and certainly since we assumed Cadillac Lanes, is we've always felt that as long as you are showing your bowlers and your customers that you are moving forward, bowlers and persons will pay more money for an experience that they enjoy, but they want to see something for the dollar. Every year we have tried to add something, whether it's something in the bar, whether it's new paint, whether it's a small carpeted area, new furniture here or there. Every year we try to justify the fact that we can add a dime to 15 cents to league fees, that we can go up $1 in lane rental or our Cosmic program, or boost an extra quarter out of a bottle of beer or a glass of soda. And I think we found in the 10 years that we've been in business, bowlers and people will be happy and continue to pay it, providing you continue to modernize. So if I had any advice, if you're thinking about adding a couple of games to your arcade, if you're thinking of rebranding maybe your bar area or the area behind the front desk, even masking units, things that are very visual to your center, we have found that as we try to add, to the profit margins, to spend a little and show the bowlers they're getting something for what you're asking for, it's been a great game plan for us. It's worked both at Maple prior to everything that has happened. It has worked at Cadillac. I'm not saying there isn't a threshold of going beyond the point of no return, so you can't double your prices and expect to keep your customers. But there is something to be said for showing them that they matter, and if you're going to ask them for a little bit more, give them something to see that their little bit more is buying, that maybe enhances their experience in your bowling center or any part of the facility.
Rich, great advice. Thank you again for joining us. I know the next 10 years are going to be equally successful, hopefully without the surprises and tragic events there. So thank you so much for making time for us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Folks, Rich Eime, I would encourage you to visit his center's websites, and both sites incredible, great locations, reinventing himself there in the Waterloo area. So gang, as we wrap up another edition of the Bowling University Profit Break, remember that when you're focused on growing people, people will grow your business. We look forward to seeing you next time for another great episode. If you have any questions about today's show or would like additional information, you can reach us anytime at education@bpaa.com. Also, you and your team can watch any of our previous episodes 24/7 by visiting bowlinuniversity.net. The Profit Break content is available when you want it, and we have new episodes premiering every month. Until then, I'm Bart Berger, and remember, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We'll see you next time.